Sunn are a drone metal band who are, at this point in time, a duo from Seattle. They are currently Stephen O'Malley and Greg Anderson. And I know that there's stuff in their name when it's written down that is not pronounced, which is this O with some brackets, closed brackets after it. They're named after an amplifier brand, and that bit of symbols there is a representation of the brand logo, which they have permission to use. So I had to look up how to pronounce the name of the band, and it is just Sunn. They released their first album in 2000 and have released 8 more since. And they tend to perform, or they do perform, on stage dressed in monk-like robes. Hi, my name's Dan. So this is the 6th studio album by Sunn, and it's my first encounter with them. And I think the first thing that I'm going to say is that it's pretty unusual. It's quite a rush, I would say. It's described as being drone metal, and I can get behind that description, but I want to pull that apart and give more of a description. So the core of the sound here is a very overdriven, very detuned guitars. So it's kind of brought down in pitch quite a bit. This is played in a drone way, which kind of gives a continuous duvet of barbed wire, harsh sound. Almost all of it is non-rhythmic, so it's what I would call a soundscape. There's no beat or discernible rhythmic pattern. It's the kind of music where you can't really identify bars and a tempo or something, because it's just whenever they feel like putting noises in, which is an approach to music I can definitely get behind. And then, along with this kind of laid down blanket, that's then embellished with other sounds that's often quite subtly done in the background, or kind of laid on top as you feel it. There are other sounds in here. There's actually quite a lot going on at various points. There is a choir at the start of the second track, Big Church, and there's various horns and brass. There are sections that are just that, so the horns and brass kind of come to the fore at the end of the last track. It kind of morphs into more of a horny thing than a kind of guitar-y thing. There are 4 pretty long tracks, and as well as all these other things that I've described, there's at times a growled, slow, and Germanic-sounding vocals. Very hard to work out most of what the words are. I did look up the words for one of the tracks, and I would describe them as vague, mystical imagery. So I couldn't work out really what it was on about. Although, so apparently the last track is a tribute to Alice Coltrane, who was a jazz harpist. Out of the 4 tracks, Hunting and Gathering is the one with the most recognizably repeated musical structure, where there's a kind of not melodic, kind of harmonic shifts that are repeated and go on over time. Again, it's quite loose with timing, but it is recognizably repeated. Apparently, that track has been named the heaviest track of all time by some critic of heavy metal. So there's a lot going on, and it happens slowly and generally subtly. It is very heavy. The word drone definitely applies. The word boom possibly applies as well. It's it's quite a thing. I found it to be really interesting, but it is quite unusual and off the beaten track. So although I enjoyed it quite a bit, it's definitely not going to be everybody's cup of tea, I would say. And that's not meant to be any kind of judgment. There are things that are off the beaten track that I hate. There are things that I like. This happens to be one that I like. Feel free to feel however you like. Of course, you feel free to feel however you like about it. But having given you my opinion, I'd like to invite you to give me your opinion of this album. So please do leave me something in the comments. And that's it from me for now.